Hello, and welcome to that Eurovision podcast, Eurovision with a Slice of Life. My name is Rory, and I'm not doing too bad today. It's very cold and windy outside, so I'm all kind of inside, all cozied up in my blanket, and ready to discuss something that I guess had to be discussed. Because it's the closest thing that we were ever going to get to a Eurovision Song Contest this year. So I'm kind of happy to talk about it. And joining me,
Nazi, it's very wet, very cold, very rainy. So I've just been staying in, and I'm really excited to talk about this topic. I feel like it's like gaining a lot of interest because it's definitely doing very well in the UK, and it wasn't something I was expecting. Shit.
Hi, I'm Rosie, and I have a lot of thoughts that I'm very excited to get out to people who actually care about what I have to say, because no one else does.
we do, Rosie, we do. We're all a big family here.
It's why I appreciate you guys.
Aww.
And all our lovely audience as well. Like, people actually tune in to listen to us have thoughts on things, and I appreciate it. It makes me feel like I matter more than I do.
Aww. Don't worry, we all really can't wait to know what do you think about things. As always.
Tim here. I watched on the first day, and let's just say I'm really, really surprised. Ooh. I'm a bit mixed, but I won't get into that until we get into our detailed discussion. And obviously, spoiler alert. So if you haven't seen it, please shut this off.
Yeah.
And wait and come back when you've seen it. Thank you.
Yeah. As much as we love having anyone listen to us, if you haven't watched the movie, the Netflix movie, the Eurovision Song Contest, The Story of Fire Saga, which is what we're going to be talking about today, please hold off from this until you actually have seen the movie, because we don't want to spoil anything for you, and then you might ruin your enjoyment of it, and we don't want to paint any sort of perceptions in the wrong way. So just hold on for like 2 hours and then you'll be fine, okay?
and we don't want you to yell at us for spoiling the film.
That's it, you know? Also, just as a little disclaimer, all of our opinions are our own, so if any of us do get completely irate about a certain thing, please do not hold it against us. So don't think of it as like, oh, this is all what Euro fans think. It's just each and every person's individual taste. So now that we have all of the disclaimers out the way, okay, so when the film was about to come out, and like what were your first impressions about going in to seeing the film? What were you expecting?
Not good. Not good at all. I thought this is gonna make a mockery of Eurovision. It's gonna be just awful. Yeah, it just wasn't good. I just thought they were gonna make fun of Eurovision, because as American, as we've probably seen, I don't know how much Americans actually understand about how Eurovision works. And I was really, really pessimistic going in. And you will see later whether my opinion has changed or not.
Leading it on, I like it.
I kind of went in a sort of cautious way. If you were to put the concept on paper, I would have gone absolutely not. But then, sort of in the few days before I got to watching it, there were reviews coming out from people who I sort of trusted with their opinion on things that were saying, give it a bit of a chance. And I didn't listen to any of the songs beforehand, so I think even Volcano Man, when that came out, I hadn't listened to it at all. So I was just trying to go in with a sort of open mind. And I kind of went in sort of cautious, and the general idea I had was, this is going to be the sort of film that I know I'm going to watch it, and I'm probably going to hate it, and I'm also probably going to enjoy it anyway and slightly hate myself because of it. And yeah, that happened.
For me, I would say that, let's just say, when I found out about it in 2018, America and Eurovision does not marry up nicely in one sentence ever. Well, 99.9% of the time. But when I found out that Will was in Lisbon, he was in Tel Aviv, he's doing all this research, I've had little faith. But looking at it per se, my expectations were very low because of the fact that, as a fan of the contest, we don't want it to be the laughing stock of the town. So when I watched it, I have some mixed perceptions about it. There's some good and there's some bad points, but I'm not going to give away the overall view right away now because that's what we're here.
Yeah, in the run up to like the movie being released, I had very very low expectations when Volcano Man first came out. I'd seen a lot of people sort of hyping it up, and I'd seen other people very much like tearing it down, thinking that, oh my god, this is just gonna be like a complete mess, and it's just going to be this sort of typical British idea that, oh, it's all a big joke, that kind of thing. And then like I'd listened to Volcano Man, and I thought, okay, this is not going to be good at all. And so when people started kind of coming out with things on like Twitter and Facebook, I was trying really, really hard not to read them because I just didn't want to have their idea or like their perception of what was going on like in the movie to like change what my expectations were. And then I watched it at the time of recording. I watched it last night, and honestly, it like Tim said, there's a bit of good, there's a bit of bad. Some bits are kind of okay, and I think overall it does get the job done, but just not in a way that we as fans would probably want it to. I think that's like the best way for me to explain it, just because I can see why people would like love it.
Like better than expected, but still not perfect.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, so basically in the plot of the film, okay, this is spoiler alert for anyone who's listening who hasn't watched it. If you haven't watched it now, please just like pause this, watch the film, and then come back, okay? The film follows Sigrid and Lars, who make up the duo of Fire Saga, who are played by Will Ferrell and Rachel McAdams. And it's Lars' dream to represent Iceland at Eurovision. And they decide to throw in a tape, and surprisingly, but just through luck of the draw, they managed to get into Songvikep in the Icelandic national selection, in amongst the likes of 21st Century Viking, aka Rasmussen. It's not exactly Rasmussen, but it's essentially Rasmussen. And then we also have Katiana as well, which is played by Demi Lovato. And unfortunately, things go wrong technically for the duo. So they technically come last. However, when they don't go on to a boat party that is organized by RÚV, the Icelandic national broadcaster, it explodes, and therefore that automatically makes them the representatives. And so they go to Edinburgh, the host city, although the venue for where the contest is supposed to be held in was in Glasgow, so a bit strange. But so, and then it basically just follows their journey through the Eurovision week and all the trials and tribulations from there. So, okay, just sort of like, once you finished watching it, like, what was like the main thing that kind of stood out to you?
Sorry, go on.
I'm just trying to think.
Tough questions.
Okay, I can start this off. As a very like-minded, Eurovision obsessed Euro fan, we know how unrealistic some of the storylines are. Like, really unrealistic. That was the main offset point. From, Tatiana being killed when you can just refuse to broadcast the contest next year, to the fact that, no head of delegation would ever allow their act to walk out thinking they did not make the grand final. And also with the fact that no one in their right mind would ever stop the song in the middle of the show and change their song. Like, where do I even begin? I can go on, but those are the main points.
Also, the scoreboard in the semi-final.
Semi-final.
Yeah, that.
Oh
I was
my
like,
god.
that's not how you do Eurovision. You do it randomly. You don't say the points.
In the semi-final, like it's like, oh, it irritated me so much because I got confused whether or not, like they actually were trying to be in the final or in the semi-final. So I was wondering. I was like, wait, what? How does that make sense? And it looked like in the scoreboard there was like 26 countries in there already, and also, I don't know if anyone picked up on this. Spain had qualified for the final. Like, girl.
Yeah.
Like, it's what happened to the Big Five. Like, girl. Ugh.
Big Five don't exist.
Big Five don't exist in the Netflix
Even the
world.
UK was in the semi-final and they were the hosts.
This is like some Turk Vision bullshit. R.I.P. Turk Vision. We don't miss you. But yeah, like so basically what. Okay, I know this is probably not the best way to sort of go about this, but what are the sort of main negative points of the film for everyone?
Definitely the technical aspect, like having the scoreboard in the semis, Spain being in the semis, the UK being in the semis, the fact that they were allowed to stop the song, although I guess that had to happen for the story to progress. Just the sheer amount of what appeared to be lack of research into Eurovision. However, I do guess that a lot of it was done in order to progress the story. However, as a major fan of the Eurovision Song Contest, it just frustrated me so much. And I will say the second major negative point that I have to point out is about halfway through the film, the Russian guy, Alexander Lemtov, literally utters the quote, the UK have a really good song this year, however, nobody will vote for them because nobody likes them, 0 points. And I just feel that really fueled like the UK local perception of the film. And it was just one moment in that film that made me very, very angry. And yeah.
I think the other thing with that line as well is that it doesn't make sense in the context of the story. The UK is hosting, which clearly means that either they won last year, or you could extrapolate that maybe Australia won, or someone else won and they didn't want to host. But that's not really a thing that countries otherwise do anymore. So the most likely scenario is that the UK won last year. So
how could that be so, like, it's such an oversight, isn't it, when you think about it?
The only explanation I have for it is that in an alternate universe, England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland compete separately, or Scotland has gone independent at this point, and Scotland won.
Fingers crossed.
Quite honestly, the way that the world is going, I don't blame them.
Yeah, Scotland, take me with you.
Please.
We are a pro-Scottish independence podcast. We are making a stand right now.
I think for me, it's just like the inaccuracies when they were in the host city, like the way everything was structured. Like when they were doing the rehearsals, like stop the music, you don't go into the arena unprepared. So it's more, you've got this conflict of like, you've got diehard fans who's watching this, and you've got locals who are just watching this and don't really care. So for the locals, it doesn't matter to them. For us, who have lived and breathed Eurovision for the past few years, it's kind of a bit of a annoyance, and it's because of the fact that we know how things work, and this is not how things work.
Yeah. Like literally, when in that part where they go on for their first technical rehearsal, and Secret gets startled by the pyros and the dancers and everything, from the point of which you are selected as the entrant to the time you go on stage for your semi-final performance or your final performance or whatever, that's the time where you develop a stage show for the contest. So I have no idea how you could have potentially lost that. Like what would you have been doing in those 2-3 months in between that? What would you be doing? Just nothing.
And also the way they tried to revamp the song between the first and second rehearsal, like that would
Benny
never
Cristo was
happen.
shaking.
I think now we're on our 15th revamp of K Mama now.
I think for me, the negatives, I didn't mind the inaccuracies so much in terms of how the contest works. And I think for me, the negatives were more in almost like a technical film aspect of things. And a lot of it was with the writing for me. And I feel like a lot of the humor and a lot of the jokes that we used were just really lazy and actually quite. I'm gonna have my woke brigade hat on right now, but there was some really uncomfortable humor in that film that I just did not feel okay with. Like, there's a sexual assault joke, and that I don't care whether it's a woman sexually assaulting a man or not. That's still not okay. And that sort of xenophobic trope of, oh, Icelanders are all related to each other, and again, that just felt really uncomfortable for me. It felt nasty rather than sort of loving. And the other thing as well that I did not like about the film is Lars is a dick.
Oh,
He
yeah.
is such an unlikable person, and it felt so manipulative for me to actually be wanting them to do well, because yes, I loved Sigrid, and she was really lovely and well intentioned, and Lars is just a horrible person who...
The way he left her.
Yeah.
Like, after that first semi-final performance, after everything had gone wrong, after everything they'd been through, he just left her. And it was just like, you are so selfish. Because...
And I just... This film expects me to root for this character, and I can't, because why am I supposed to like or relate to this person? Yeah, for sure, he's a person with a dream, but you've got to be more than that. You've got to actually be a likable human being as well.
And that's what translates into success as well. Sorry, go on, Tim.
Another thing I'd like to point out is, like, where were the people that were supposed to be with the artists?
Yeah, like the delegation.
It's kind of like they just left. They left them to fend for themselves. There's no heads of delegations or anything.
Honestly.
I was like, why is Lars and Secret by themselves? Where's their head of press? Where's their head of delegation? Where's their managers?
Why is the Russian representative just sat with Sigrid because there's nobody else that was there for her?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Do you know what I did like, though? That in typical films, Russian characters are portrayed as the villains. And towards the end, you kind of realise that Alexander was very much very far and was actually just a very supportive character, although very early on. You were left wondering if he was a villain or not, and I did kind of really like that. Obviously, once you see the green room stuff, you kind of realise, oh, he's probably not a villain and just wants to be there for her, which he was there for her when Lars was not.
Yeah. I think as well, like with Alexander, I feel he's very much based off of Sergei Lazarev in the sense that he's been there for the 5th time. He has a house, like 5 different houses or something, and he's a closet case essentially. So, and I felt like I understood where they were trying to go with that character, but it did still come across as if he was trying to be snaky. As in, like, try and, like, sabotage Iceland's chance. So that, like, Sigrid could, like, join the Russian team.
It felt like they were good, like, he was going to split them up. And it was like, oh, he's almost succeeded without having to really do anything.
Which I guess is another factor that plays into the fact that actually Lars is just a dick and he's the one that's responsible for the partnership being terrible.
Yeah, I think another thing though was just the fact that like these sorts of rivalries, as in like Iceland v Russia or something like that, that never happens in a Eurovision context. We've seen it. We've gone through this thing every single year. We have people who go to the pre-parties, so you know, Amsterdam, London, so much more, and we've seen them like they get together and they like just have a really good time, and I don't know why they were pushing this like, oh, everyone's sort of out playing like mind games against each other. Like that's not what it's supposed to be, you know? Like it's supposed to be a place of celebration, and it just felt like everyone was treating it as a quote unquote competition. That, you know, you have to eliminate the competition in order to do well for yourself. And I just felt like that completely missed the mark with the sense of the sort of community of the whole show, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I think it feels like a very American way to approach things.
Like, because like stuff in America is like very, very cutthroat.
Yeah.
And I feel like they wanted to portray this as that, and obviously Eurovision is like the furthest thing from cutthroat. And if it ever did get like that, like the fans would not be happy if an artist all of a sudden decided, I need to eliminate the competition, I need to play mind games with them all. Like if an artist did that, they would be cancelled by the fandom.
And remember the whole Benjamin Ingrosso thing a couple of years back, where I think it was he made a video or something where he just said some sort of less than stellar things about some of the other songs that year. And
yeah.
Video.
Yeah, like he got a lot of hate from that.
And it deservedly so, because he was kind of, that sense was that he was going against the spirit of the contest, which is to unite people. And in the film, I feel like the whole intention of that is to get around that and to sort of like drive a wedge in between people. Like, if that's how you think like a contest like Eurovision works, like, and as well for Will Ferrell, who had done research, he'd been to Lisbon, he'd been to Tel Aviv, he'd seen how these artists would have like supported each other, and they would have sort of, you know, made sure that everyone was doing okay, you know, like they wouldn't. I just felt like it was he must have just thought, okay, it's too boring, so that's why we have to create this conflict storyline, which really doesn't actually happen.
I'd like to just read out a tweet that's just literally come up on my timeline from Ellie, as in Dr. Ellie at Ellie Made. And
Hi, Ellie!
The tweet is, he's only ever attended the contest as a corporate lanyarded guest, and it shows.
Oh, can I just take a moment? Can we just take a minute and just say how sad it was that we didn't actually get to have Jan-Ola Sand play Jan-Ola Sand? Like,
Oh my God.
Fake.
Like
The fake, I was like, why did they just change his name? Why didn't they just change the executive producer? They did not need to do that.
But it was just really sad, because you'd imagine, because in the opening credits it says in association with the EBU, so you'd imagine that they would have gone through the movie and they would have like checked to make sure that like the logistical things would be kind of going through, and then they didn't even invite Jan-Ola Sand to actually act in it. I thought,
But he was an executive producer.
Like, they invited somebody from the blogosphere to be in the movie. Not naming any names.
not naming names.
But they can invite him, and they don't invite Jan-Ola Sand.
Well, they might have invited him and he just refused.
In which case, that's okay. Like,
yeah, but I mean, that if that is the case, that kind of says it all.
How do you mean?
Maybe he just wanted an answer to the eternal question of who would play you if they ever made a movie about your life.
Oh, maybe. I mean, I would be up for a Jan-Ola Sand movie. So if, like, Jan-Ola Sand, can you get this going, please?
Yes.
Take it away. The Jan-Ola Sand story. Yeah. Also, a couple of other sort of, not necessarily irritating things, but just some things that I had picked up. Graham Norton commentating on the semi-finals. I mean, like, I wonder if he had to, like, if the BBC actually did that, they'd have to pay him like £1 million or something. 'Cause imagine him trying to get out for like more than 3 days. Like, hun, please.
I'll take it only because it gave me my one laugh in the entire film, which was the bit where he was like, This is San Marino's entrance. No idea why he's crying.
Because it's San Marino, and we all love San Marino.
But there was something about the way he said that was my one proper laugh that entire film.
Like,
And it wasn't to say I didn't find other bits of it funny, but as far as proper laugh out loud goes, that was my bit.
There were definitely moments where I was a bit like, yikes, with Graham in the film. Like, where I feel like some of the stuff that he was commentating on the film, where this film was meant to be a parody, were kind of like stuff that he would say in the real contest. And I'm like, does he view Eurovision itself as a parody? Like,
yeah, this is. I was saying to my mum, because we had watched it together last night, and at the end of it, I was telling her I really don't want Graham Norton to be a part of the contest anymore, because he's going in the same way as Terry Wogan. And I understand that it's supposed to be a parody and it's not supposed to be real, but the way that his like commentary was so jaded and so sharp, I think like that's reinforcing the whole idea of, oh, it's all just a joke. And I think that's why we need to not have someone like Graham Norton now as a commentator, because he's doing nothing but actually damaging the contest, which is a shame, because when he first started in 2009, 2010, he did start doing a really good job. But it's only since like 2014, 2015, since then, it's just become more and more vitriolic. And it's not fun anymore with him. And that's why I felt it was really kind of, I didn't like it when they cut to him. And I understand that it was supposed to be out of a humor thing, but I don't know. It just felt wrong what he was saying, because it was again going against the whole idea of the contest, of unity and celebration. Also, the other small little thing that I picked up, I'm sorry, Pierce Brosnan, but your Icelandic accent was just not it.
there were times where I felt like the Icelandic accent sounded like a Welsh accent.
I'm not surprised.
I'm like, Icelanders don't sound like that.
Yeah.
Welsh people do.
I mean, in Pierce Brosnan's one, I could hear more Swedish, because he was going up and down, like a sort of kind of like hurdy-gurdy accent. But I don't think he should have had an extra few little maybe days of just like trying to perfect that accent, because like an Icelandic accent is kind of easy to do. So it's like you just talk in a way that is very breathy, like in that sense. And I think Rachel McAdams did a very good job on her accent. I think she was the one that stuck to it the best out of all the main characters. And then, yeah, Will Ferrell, there were points when he was literally just talking in his normal voice. You couldn't forgive something like that. Like, if you're supposed to be from a country with a very, like distinctive accent, and then you go for something completely, like, off-kilter, it's just not something that you would really want to do, you know?
I'd have been okay with him using his normal American accent if it was consistent with the rest of the film. Like, if everyone was using their natural accents. I've seen films, admittedly more sort of highbrow films, like The Death of Stalin, for example, where people all use their normal accents in what they're talking about, regardless of where the film is set or anything like that, because it gives a far more sort of natural performance, and it means that they're not too busy focusing on what could be really sort of dodgy comedy accents instead. So I feel like if everyone used their natural accent, it wouldn't have been so much of an issue, because I can easily believe they are Icelandic by them being in Iceland. I don't need the accent to do that, and I felt it served more of a comedy purpose, and there wasn't the consistency there in that it needed to have.
Yeah, definitely. I think it just needs to... It could have just done without it, just for the sense that it would have made things a bit more palatable, I think is the right way of saying it. Yeah, okay. So okay, we've been quite harsh with it at some point, so I think it's only fair that we sort of look to the other side now. What are some of the positives, and like what are some of like the real bits that you actually really enjoyed from the film, if any?
There's two moments for me. The first will be the song along,
Of course.
Of
where
course.
all the artists got involved, and that was just such a fun scene, and it was so nice to like see so many Eurovision artists get involved with that, and so many like winners, like big winners, like Loreen, Alexander Rybak, Jamala, like Conchita, like just the sheer amount of winners that got involved in this movie made me very, very happy, and it felt like they almost did something for the die-hard Eurovision fans by getting all these actual real acts involved, which I felt was a really nice touch.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, I loved that scene. That scene was worth it for me. My favourite bit out of that scene was Eleni and Conchita's duet of Ne Parti pas sans moi. Like, that was beautiful.
Oh yeah.
We can only stan.
Who would have put them two together though? Like, I would never have thought Conchita and Elena Nachayeva would just like work.
But oh boy, that was good.
Yeah.
I liked that scene a lot, and
But
just
the thing
puts
is-
a smile on your face. It just makes you happy. And okay, I'm not convinced about them sort of mashing up Cher and the Black Eyed Peas
And
with
Madonna
famous Eurovision songs. Not least when there is a Eurovision winning song called "Believe" that they could have used.
Yeah, but I mean, we really want them to be in there. I think that would make it worse.
We really have wanted them to. No.
Another thing I wanted to ask as well. Out of all the artists, what is Anna Obadescu doing there?
I know.
I don't know.
She didn't even make the final. How is she there?
Maybe Will
Maybe
Ferrell
they
just
were
took.
using her house.
Oh, I would be totally on. If that was Anna Dobescu's house, I would like. We need to make a go like there. We need to go there. Rent it out. Airbnb. But maybe it might just be because like Will Ferrell like really took a liking to her or something, and maybe just asked her. But it is very much like she's standing out like a sore thumb here. Not that she's a bad thing, obviously, because you know she's a very lovely woman, and I'm sure that you know that she had more than a reason to be there. But it like in amongst like Loreen, Jamala, Alexander Rybak, Jessie Matador as well, like. Just, you would never think Anna Dobescu to be joining that rank, you know?
I also had a little bit of a moment about this on Twitter the other day, but I just want to have a moment to say that how amazing is it that in 6 years, Bilal Hassani has gone from commenting on Conchita Wurst's YouTube performance videos to being a cameo in a film about Eurovision as a former contestant.
With Conchita Wurst in the same performance.
I know.
Yeah. How wonderful is that? That just makes me so happy. And
I'm pretty sure he's still younger than than most of us.
yeah, he's younger than me.
How old is he?
I think he's about 20.
20?
I'm looking this up now.
Oh my god, don't say that. That means he's younger than all of us. I don't like it. I don't want to
Rory,
be...
what year were you born?
1999.
And what month?
February.
He's younger than you.
Oh no!
September 1999.
Oh god, I feel old. When you see
Welcome to
people...
what my life was like.
When you see people younger than you succeeding or achieving absolute greatness, like on a European level, like what's the whole point of life?
Trust me, it only gets worse with age.
Woo! Looking forward to it. Oh dear.
Oh, I've got one. I got one where after they did Double Trouble and obviously the incident happened. I liked the scene, well, this line that that Sigrid says after they walk out of their performance and they didn't hear the clapping, and she was like, "Ooh," Lars like, "Ooh, it's gonna be a joke," but like, you know, Husavik is watching. I want to go to the artist section and watch the results, and then Lorsak saying, I don't want to go back. But then she says, I am going into the artist area because I am an artist. And when I see that no votes come in for us, I'm going to sit there and I'm going to take it. Because I know I am more than this contest. And that kind of hit a note because of the fact that you get more than 26 countries participating. And you see that about, geez, my maths are like going crazy here, about 15 or 16 of them not even making the grand final. And some of them even end up not getting a vote at all. Some of them not getting a vote from jury or televote.
Or both.
Or both. and,
Yeah.
and they just sit there and take it. So that kind of hit a note to like the fact that some of these artists, they gamble a lot and it's not always that result, but they know that having that no part is not the end for them, and the fact that there's more to life than Eurovision.
Yeah, this kind of really lended on to the second point of this film that I really, really loved, that it really felt like, and this should be a sentiment that should definitely resonate with the UK more than it currently does, and that it's not about the winning, it's about the taking part.
Ugh.
And you definitely saw that at the end, like, they didn't win, but they came back and they could still hold their heads up high, and there was still this sense of national pride towards the artist, and I really, really liked that. And I just wish that the UK would be more like that, rather than think it's either win or even if we came second, then we're still like the biggest losers on stage. And I feel like the UK definitely needs to like look back and just realise it's not always about the winning.
Well, I mean, the UK is, as well we know, there has this idea that second place is the first of the losers. But to be honest, it doesn't really make a difference. Like the fact that you're even there in the first place makes, it's a big thing. To get top 10 is amazing.
I definitely feel this movie had that sentiment that just being there was a great thing.
Yeah.
So there is definitely bits where the UK can definitely take a leaf out of the movie's book.
Yeah. And if there's anything else that we've said about the UK that you want to listen to, you can listen to our UK episode here. But yeah, I mean the another thing that I really, really liked as well, and I feel like this is actually like this deserves it. I think Molly Sandén as the singing voice of Sigrid, deserves far more credit than what she got.
Absolutely.
Because she had so many good things. Like, okay, I actually really enjoyed kind of a lot of the songs that were actually represented in the contest. Maybe not so much Belarus though. Belarus was a bit much for me.
No,
Belarus should have qualified.
They were absolutely robbed.
Oh no, the satanic stuff. It's like, oh no.
No, I loved it. It was so great.
It was a really good song.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll have to have a listen to it again at some point. But no,
they were absolutely robbed, and I cannot believe they didn't qualify. That is another critique I have of this film. Belarus was robbed, and they were the winners in my mind.
We're going to Minsk 2021, is it?
Yes.
I guess so.
Yeah. No, but like there was a lot of good songs in there. Like I actually really enjoyed Double Trouble. I think that was actually a really good song. Like I would listen to that anyway.
Double Trouble had Scared of the Dark vibes by Steps.
Yeah, but in a good way.
Yes, I agree. I love that. I love both of those songs.
Yeah, but I think definitely for sure Husavik was like the standout song, and it shows, and I really do hope that sort of Molly Sandén does get a lot of sort of credit or some kind of royalties from any sort of money that is made, because she really deserves it. That was in itself such an achievement for her, and like for someone who has never actually made it to the contest. Yes, she made it to Junior Eurovision in 2006, but Like, for someone who's never actually made it to the adult contest and still be featured in the Eurovision movie, I think, you know, that's an achievement in itself. Maybe she doesn't even need to go anymore. Yeah, I think overall, I think it wasn't a complete shit show, and I think that's what needs to be taken. It wasn't like a complete piss take, which is something that we all had an idea that it could have been, because obviously having Americans produce a show about a European event, like, they could have totally missed the mark, and they could have done something completely like different, and it would have been lambasted at all. But I think at some points it was really actually kind of good and really heartfelt. And I know this is a very bad thing. This is just one more positive thing that I said anyway. This is the main bit where I laughed. It was when they were on, like, when Lars and Sigrid had failed to win Songbekeppnin, and they were watching the boat like explode, and then they were like trying really hard not to like be happy, but they were like celebrating, but they were like also like sad at the same time. I was like, I had to laugh. That was the best. That for me, that was like the funniest bit of them all, because I know I would probably be in that exact situation if I were in their shoes. I'd be like, oh yay, I'm going now. Oh wait, oh no.
The minute I saw that, I was like, this is so dark. What the hell?
Yeah, it took a really
And then
dark
the fact
turn.
that, like, burnt Demi Lovato just kept reappearing. What the fuck was that?
And she wasn't even a good ghost either. She was like, you're in grave danger. It's like, yeah, I know, I already killed him. I was like, oh, okay.
It's like
She's such a shit ghost.
Oh,
like she foresaw things that had already happened. Like,
I was like, that's just being there. That's just remembering.
I mean, it was literally thrown in there so she had more relevance. Let's be honest.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, when Demi Lovato was like first confirmed to be in the show, I thought, okay, she's going to be like some real like singer that's going to be like the villain. And then when I watched the thing and like she died within the first like 20 minutes of the film, I was like, oh, okay, right, okay. Because I thought she'd have a bit more of a part than she did. And she was just only there. I thought she only showed up for like 5 minutes, and then she got her like $500,000 paycheck or whatever it was. I don't know. But yeah. So just kind of like wrapping things up a little bit. What would you give the film out of 10, and what do you think is the one bit that everyone should look out for?
I would give it a 6 out of 10. And if you are a Eurovision fan, you should definitely look out for the song along, because it is just amazing and it will make you happy. If it doesn't put a smile on your face, then I don't know what will. Because it is just, there's just such a sense of togetherness in that one scene. And it's very much done in a film where the context is perceived as very cutthroat. So, like, that sense of community and togetherness is a really, really nice touch. And the fact that they used real Eurovision artists as well showed that they definitely wanted to do something for the big Eurovision fans. So, if you're a Eurovision fan, definitely something to look out for.
Okay. Yeah, definitely.
I find giving it a number quite interesting because for the last year and a half, I've made lists and spreadsheets of every film I've seen and given them rankings.
Oh my god, that's dedication.
I'm a big film nerd.
Hey,
it's
go
quite
for it.
interesting because I gave it a 5 out of 10. And it's quite interesting because so far the only other film I've given 5 out of 10 to this year, I gave 5 out of 10 for basically completely the opposite reasons. And it's another Netflix film, actually, and it was The Irishman. And The Irishman, for me, is a film that is incredibly competently made, and it's very well done, but it's really, I found it so boring.
Oh.
Whereas this, I actually had quite a good time watching it, but it wasn't a good film.
Yeah.
But the bits that I would say to watch out for, the music, to be quite honest. I think a lot of the music was actually really quite enjoyable. I would really recommend having a listen to some bits of the soundtrack. And the other thing that I would recommend watching out for, though I still can't quite believe this happened, is how on earth they managed to get Salvador Sobral into this fast food film.
With the only Eurovision song of the entire film as well.
I mean, aside from what they had in the song off.
Well, with the exception of that, yeah.
Yeah. But I just don't understand how much money did they pay him to be a homeless dude? And, like, I appreciated it being there, and it was very pretty, but I'm just confused.
How did he go from Eurovision is fast food music and not like the perceptions of Eurovision haven't changed in 2018 to
Yeah, sure, I'll be in the movie.
agreeing to be in a movie which is literally a parody of Eurovision. So is even more fast food music than Eurovision itself.
Financial incentive, I can see it.
Yeah.
Okay, I think it's my turn. I would give it at 5. Very mixed bag on it. Very lots of inaccuracies, along with the cheesy storyline, which I didn't mind and made up for it a bit, along with the music. So I'm neutral. I can give arguments for both. The one thing I would say you look out for is Husavik, because my heart melts every time I hear that. And I really hope Molly Sandon returns to Melody Festival and actually gets her own winning song again, because it's long overdue. Come on, Sweden. Come on, SVT. Give her chance.
Maybe she might actually come into Melody Festival now next year. Because, like, now that, like, this is all blown up and she's going to become, like, that person, she might win off the basis of her fame from that. Are we planting seeds? 100%. Myself, I feel like I'm, like, the most out of everyone. I've given it a 6.5 out of 10. Now, obviously, as a fan, there's a lot of inaccuracies to the whole thing. Like, there's no mention of, like, pre-parties. There's no mention of sort of the unity between lots of other countries, with the exception of, I guess you could say, Greece and Russia, because they're the only ones that seem to have like an Elliot and Mickey style of friendship, if you know what I mean. But I guess if you're a local, a lot of these sort of inaccuracies that we would definitely pick up on, that they would just kind of pass you by because you wouldn't necessarily understand all of the details. There were some parts of it that are really, really good, and I think, like, the bit, I have to say, the one bit that I think is absolutely hilarious, and it accurately reflects my own opinion of, no hate to American people, but when Lars goes on these big rants about American people, like, completely just defecating on European culture, that is just me in a nutshell. Like, I've saved a screenshot where it's just Lars looking in at himself in a fountain in Edinburgh, and it just says, "God damn Americans." But,
the bit in when they're back in Hosevik and he tells them to go back home, it's like, is he trying to make a parody of what Americans are a bit like at the moment?
I wouldn't be surprised if that was the thing. I didn't actually pick up on that. That could actually be a really interesting thing. At Netflix, where are y'all at? We need these questions answered. But yeah, I think overall, I think it's a somewhat enjoyable film to watch. And if you're willing to suspend your belief of, like, how Eurovision as a whole concept can be done, it's more enjoyable. However, if you're not a fan of Will Ferrell, who obviously very much heavily relies on slapstick comedy and sex jokes,
dick jokes,
yeah, if anything, if you're able to sort of suspend your disbelief about Eurovision as a concept and are willing to be able to put up with about 2 hours of dick jokes and
Which, to
slapstick
be
comedy.
fair, is what Shakespeare did.
Yeah, but he did it in a classy way.
You only
know?
think it's classy now because it's written in oldie style, languagey,
Are we
and
saying
verily forsooth, etc. This is basically modern day Shakespeare.
that in 400 years' time, Will Ferrell will be revered as one of the greatest writers of our time?
I sure hope so.
Oh dear. But yeah, honestly, if you're willing to suspend your disbelief about the inaccuracies of the contest and are willing to put up with 2 hours of dick jokes and slapstick comedy, then I think this will be the film for you. But honestly, I think, you know what? We've never really had a film about Eurovision before, so I think we should really take it. Maybe at some point in the near future, maybe another film can come out and sort of best it and actually make it more accurate, you know? We'll just have to
We've
wait.
got a couple of documentaries.
Yeah, we have Sounds Like Teen Spirit. I don't know if any of you guys have ever watched it.
Yes.
That's a really, really good one. It for those of you who don't know what Sounds Like Teen Spirit is, it's essentially a documentary following the lives of 4 of the participants from Junior Eurovision 2007. And it kind of goes from their selection in their national finals up to the whole, like, contest itself, and then sort of the immediate aftermath and sort of how you go back to life as being a child. So it's definitely a good watch. I'd say you should definitely watch that if you have a chance to.
It is great.
I don't know if
there's also Why Not Mill Street, which is about Mill Street hosting the contest in the early 90s.
Oh.
And we've also got a song called Hate coming out later this year, which I'm really excited for, which follows Hattori in last year's contest.
There's one more.
Oh, is there?
Yes. If you haven't heard of this, then I'm gonna get really annoyed. But basically, there was one where a documentary, but it's about the fans.
Oh, I know which one you're on about.
Yes.
Eurovision
Is
Diaries.
Tim doing self-promo?
Yeah, like self-promo, like like yours truly appears on it for like God knows how many times.
I don't know which broadcaster it was. Was it the
Ile? Yeah, and also saying the fact that how expensive this contest can really get on fans as well.
See, and so therefore you've got so much like actual films that you can watch from about Eurovision. It's great.
Because like I imagine if like Finland host again, maybe we get something like that, but in even more depth about the fact.
Hopefully,
like the Eurovision like diaries, but like follow them like all the way through the year. That'd be really interesting.
From the day after the final up until the final the next year. Tim, you should volunteer for yourself to do that.
I'm just gonna be like, okay, when Finland wins, I'm gonna start recording. they don't even have to say anything to me. I'll just be like, okay, I'm just gonna record my experience and I'll just make a documentary out of it.
Rory, when you've got your career like taking off as an international journalist of great renown, maybe that's a thing you could do.
Yeah, I mean, I can do that, and you all can be in here as well, and you can get a little bit of a promo as well. But yeah, so there's a multitude of different sort of documentaries and films for people to indulge in Eurovision in. But hopefully we'll have another one on top of this most recent one, Fire Saga, that we can have that reveres the contest a lot more than what Will Ferrell tries to do. But yeah, so that brings us to the end of this episode of that Eurovision podcast. I'd really like to thank Jazzy, Rosie and Tim as well for discussing this interesting take on the Eurovision as a whole. Hopefully that it's not going to be completely lambasted as it usually is in the local media, fingers crossed. But yeah, so in the meantime, please do follow us on all of our social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at That Euro Podcast. We're also on Spotify as well, so you can get notified there whenever a new episode comes out. So if you want to follow us there, that's fantastic. And yeah, if you have any other ideas of what you want us to talk about, please do let us know. I mean, we're always open to suggestions. And yeah, so shall we all say, I don't know what goodbye is. Oh, bye in Icelandic. That is bless. So we all say bless. Bless.